This is the Super Rad BMX Podcast. Down the first straight is the cruising Cornhusker over the jump bonsai Brad. Now your host Brad Fanshaw and Tim Lilladora.
Everyone, welcome to Super Rad BMX, where it just keeps getting better every week. And we want to remind you, we're not just here on YouTube. We're also everywhere you can find an audio podcast. So go there, look us up. You can find us, whether it's iTunes, Apple Podcasts, you can find us there. We're there. We're going to be where you want to be. Spotify, all of them. So go there and look for Super Rad BMX. When you do, make sure you give us a positive 5-star rating and a great comment. Like, I like Tim's hair, or maybe Brad shouldn't wear his glasses because they reflect something. It doesn't matter what, as long as you leave a comment, it's good for us. And we're excited. Tim, how are you, buddy?
Doing really well. Super excited to have this man on the show tonight.
That's
one of my oldest friends in BMX, former teammate. I've reconnected with him in the last couple of years. He's got a lot of great things happening, and I can't wait to dig into it.
Yeah, welcome to the show, Mark Darcy. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it, guys.
And we're excited to talk about the ABSAPRO, American Bike Show Association Pro, and bike creations by Darcy, and all your racing and everything that you have going on. So let's just dive right into this, because I'm really excited to get into kind of the nitty-gritty on the bike show, because I don't know if you know, but my background in hot rods and building custom cars and like that, I've done so many car shows, and on the top level where I'll give you an example, and this is kind of a leading thing into the bike show judging and everything, but we built a car for a customer once, Boyd Coddington, my old partner, and I, and we took it up to the Grand National Roadster Show in Oakland, California. And this was one of the most prestigious awards at the time that you could win. And we had won it previously. We thought for sure. We could not find anything wrong with this car. We knew it was a winner. It was unique. Everything about it had history. We built a beautiful judging book so that the judges knew every little idiosyncrasy that was modified on the car. But we didn't. We won best interior. We won best paint. We won, which is kind of one of those things when you're standing there in the car show world, you really don't want to, because usually if you get all those accolades, it means because you didn't win the overall award.
Sure, yeah.
And we lost, and we actually asked the judges, because we were interested. We wanted to know for the next time. And the difference was our valve stem caps. They could not find anything between the two cars. So they found that the other individual had engraved their valve stem caps. And it came down to that.
Wow.
And now, do you guys get that detailed on the bike show judging?
Oh, yeah. We even get more detailed than that.
Oh, that's what I wanted to hear.
We do quarter points, half points, 3/4 points, a 50-point scale total, for best. And when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, and we've got 2 or 3 bikes, we look at the little ferrules on the end of the brake cables. Are they crimped on, or are they super glued on? Super glued looks really nice. If you look at the valve stems, if they're sticking straight up and they're lined up with the writing on the tires, beautiful. If they're all different places, it doesn't look as good. It's attention to detail when we go out judging these bikes.
Now, let me ask you something. Is crimped on a better judgment, or is super glue?
Well, super glue, because you don't see the crimping on it. It's nice and pretty.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
So there's some real interesting things. Now, okay, let's just go right back to the beginning.
No wonder I didn't win.
Yeah, there you go, Tim. And And Tim, you had your valve stem caps too tight. You have to show one thread so that they know that they're not just super glued on.
Well, I had to learn the hard way about the lining up the valve stem with the writing on the tires. A year or so ago, I was just, I just threw the tires on. I didn't even pay attention to the writing being lined up with the valve stem. And there's little things like that I've learned. I'm not even, halfway into the things that Mark knows about, but there's always more to learn along the way.
But there's a lot of things we look at. I'd say maybe 4 out of 10 bikes have crooked seats when I look at them. Crooked bars. You want to have your grips on the bars where the writing's on top. Everything is nice and level. Your pads are nice and straight. I like to see a bike. It's there to be shown. If it's, it's attention to detail. Is the bike sitting there with the pedals one up, one down, and the pedals nice and flat? It looks nice that way. And you got the pedals all weird and, the cranks all weird. It doesn't present very well. There's a boatload of things we look at. I get down and I look at the axles. Is there grease down on the freewheel? Is there grease on the chain? Is the chain too tight? Does it spin back freely? Grab the brakes, feel those. If they're like real buttery and they just go in real easy and snap back out, that's beautiful. But if one arm comes in and the other one doesn't move, it's attention to detail again. You want both arms to move in at the same time.
Well, you're on that. What if they had them set up so they actually wouldn't even touch the rims because they're freshly anodized rims they didn't want to wear? Would that be points against it?
Yeah, the brake's got to work. You got to be able to jump on that bike. I got to look at this bike and go, can I get on this bike and ride it right now? Would it be able to get on the track? I've seen guys where, I'll give you an example. The last show we did in Lakewood, one of the judges went over and one of the seats was crooked. He wanted to see how loose it was. And it fell off in his hands. It wasn't even tightened down. He's like, okay. He sat it down next to the bike on the ground. It's little things like that. I've seen pedals where they were halfway screwed on. They weren't even screwed on all the way. I couldn't get on that.
Man.
Yeah, I've seen bikes with no brakes, no chains, and I'm thinking to myself, why would you put it in a show like that? This is a bike show. It's a pristine thing. It's kind of like a car show, like you're saying. You want to see the best of the best.
Yeah. Is there a class? And I'm ignorant to this. I mean, I walked through the show. I love looking at all the bikes. And I even thought about putting my my one Schwinn bike in, but I didn't know if it was worthy, so I didn't. But is there a class, and I know you have a lot of classes, but is there a class for like fresh out of the barn, a patina bike? Okay,
yes,
is there?
Survivor class. That's a really hard class to put together because a lot of guys will buy old parts, throw it on a bike and call it a Survivor. Other guys will pull them out of the barn, out of the attic. The true Survivors, to me, it's just a hard one to judge. We don't normally do Survivor class at our shows. We've done it at the NBA reunion, obviously, because that's the NBA and that's the 70s. And most of those bikes are pretty beat up and they look beautiful the way they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wondered because I thought, how do you judge that? Because then it gets into well, no, that came with that. No, it didn't. No, and there's a lot of that type of thing, right?
Yes. There's a few judges out there that know the 70s better than I do. And, I know the 70s, but these guys live it, love it, breathe it, and they judge it. I like the cruiser class, the 80s cruisers, the 90s cruisers. That was my era, and, Tim's era. And that's what we love. And that's what I like to judge. There's the 29-inch custom class or the 29-inch regular standard class, and then 26-inch standard, and then 26-inch custom. Billy Zerzow, he judges those because he rides with those guys every single day, and he knows those bikes inside and out. So, we have judges that know the bikes in the different classes, so they fit in there pretty well.
So it'd be like, in my world, it'd be like having a guy who knows Corvettes.
Exactly.
And I'll give the example again. I learned years ago that a Corvette, they have what are called chalk marks. All the old cars, GM, Fords, they would have chalk marks on the frames, on the rear ends, to tell them what options the car had as it was going down the assembly line.
Mm-hmm.
There was a big thing that I was in the middle of years and years ago, this is in the 80s, where there was a big discussion because a guy had his chalk mark on the rear end of this fabulously restored Corvette, but you could look under the car and read it. And the judges explained to him, no, sir, those cars went down the assembly line. The chassis went upside down. So when they put the chalk marks on, the chalk marks were all upside down so they could be read. Then at the very last minute, the chassis was flipped over and the body was attached to it. And you could just see the guy like, well, how was I supposed to know that? You know, and that's where you're saying you have judges that are such specialists. They know those type of things.
Yes. Yeah. All the judges, they all know all the bikes. But they're specific for specific classes, like Barry Nelson. He likes the 90s and 2000 and up 20-inch. You know, Brad does the 80s bikes because that's his era. Sam Meek will do the 70s monoshock or the 70s, 20-inch class. Everybody has a specialty in their classes. And then Dino, he likes to do the 70s cruisers, 26-inch, the 80s 26-inch cruisers. That was his era as well. Everybody has, their own little pick that they like to do. We change it up a lot of times and have a little fun with it, and it's a lot of fun. It's really cool to see all those really nice bikes out there. These guys put hours and hours and boatloads of money into their bikes, and
some of them beautiful, gorgeous.
Oh yeah. The best to show at the Lakewood show was a 29-inch Bassett Bel Air. And the gentleman that had it, he actually had it gold plated and had it etched. And it was etched all the way through handlebars, cranks, everything. It was just, I couldn't take my eyes off it. It was amazing. Just amazing.
Hey, Tim, when you were prepping your bikes for the shows, what was the biggest stressor for you?
Well, the last time around it was the last time it was around was the seat for my my Yamaha motorbike. I was trying to reupholster the seat and kind of ran out of time, and I did it myself, and I knew that it has all the correct parts, which is perfect. It's got the struts, everything. It had the seat pan. I bent it straight, but the stress for me was, I should have taken it to an upholstery shop. Somewhere around here, I have the original covering, but it turned out okay. But that one will probably get redone eventually. The stress for me is things like cleaning up chrome on wheels and realizing, hey, this is not like replating it. Some of my bikes are somewhere between Survivor and show bike. You know what I mean? Because some of the imperfections are still there.
Yeah, but that adds character to the bike, and that's something that we all recognize. If a guy's racing a bike, like you and I had raced our bikes that we were putting in the show. I don't know if you raced yours at Frogtown and put it in the show, but I did. And at that time, the judge was telling me, that was before we were ABSA, the judge was telling me, he says, you get extra bonus points because you're racing this thing and it's got mud from the track on it. And I like it like that.
There you go. Yeah.
If a bike's all original, and yeah, it's got pitting, it's got a little bit of this or that, but it's been cleaned to its best, and it stands there looking beautiful. A straight time capsule from the 70s. Hey, that's great. That's awesome. That's bonus points.
Yeah, I suppose you don't really know. I mean, what the judges are going to, think. They might see, like you said, a bike that looks really cool, but, it's got some chrome missing here and there. Maybe the tires have some dirt on it. When I went to Dirtyfest the first time, and I saw everyone carefully carrying their bikes over to the show area, and I was just rolling mine along, I thought maybe I shouldn't be doing this. So
yeah, Dirtyfest is a whole different animal. It's so dusty out there, and we take all that into consideration as well. Everybody comes there, we see all the bikes coming in, and they're all absolutely gorgeous. Within an hour, they got dust on them. We get it. It's out there in the dirt.
Yeah.
I'm going to change it this year by putting carpet down out there. So we'll have like outdoor carpet to put all the bikes on, so it won't be as much dust.
Yeah, I had I don't know, between my race bikes and a couple of show bikes, I think I've actually totally cleaned up only one. Like this bike here, my Webco still has dust on it from Dirtyfest.
Is that a
makes
souvenir item?
Yeah.
Hey, so Mark, the
Excuse me.
American Bike Show Association, the ABSA Pro, I should call it. How did you start it? What was the conversation? You were sitting around and you said, you know what, I keep building these bikes for myself and for other people, and there should be an association. How did that all happen?
So I started doing bike shows in 2014. I went to my first show and got best of show, and I was hooked instantly. Went to my second show, didn't even place, and I was like, what happened? And I started going to all these different shows, and throughout the years, I could see the difference in judging, combining all the cruisers in the 80s and all the 20-inch in the 80s together, and combining all these different bikes together, and different shows did different things and different ways of judging. One guy'd go out and pick all his favorites, and that'd be the judge for the day, and so stepping back about a year ago, Dino Bartoli, we all know Dino. He's a great guy racing for BDC. He was super fast. He and I were at a race, SoCal race, just hanging out. And he says, Mark, we need to start a bike show association. He says, you need to get on that and take off with it. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't have the time for that, And about a week later, we were talking again, and he says, hey, have you given it any thought? And I said, yeah, maybe a little bit. And he said, let's do this. We can do this. And I said, okay, well, I don't know how to design websites, so I'll leave that to you. And about 3 months down the road, he says, I don't know how to do a website, dude. You're going to have to take over on this. And I was like, okay, here we go.
Okay.
So, I called Mike Miranda and a few others that helped me build my website and put it together. And then basically the rules and regulations we have, what we wanted to do was make a bike show that was fair to everybody. Have judges out there judging the classes with points in different categories and, on a nice point scale. And most bike shows don't do that. They go out there and look at the bike and go, okay, I like this one, and this one will get second, that one will get third. Well, these guys put so much time into them. We want to reward them for that. These guys that are putting hours and hours and money into their bikes, we want to make sure that that's recognized. Some of the judging ideas that I came up with, we were actually using those in the Triple Crown BMX with Craig Turner when he and I were doing a 3-show series. We came up with some rules and stuff like that, and how we judge and critique and all that. And I just incorporated that, and then we just kept building it, and then we came up with 10 shows this year. And it was kind of crazy how it just like all of a sudden just hit us. And then we're doing our first show, in Mike Miranda's area out there in Arizona, and it was a very small show. We had a meeting prior to the show, we had a meeting after the show, and what we could do to better the shows. And Dirtyfest was our pretty much our first big one, and we hit everything. We hit the head on the nail on that one, and we've just been getting better ever since. It's something I like, something I really enjoy. I've been to hundreds of shows. I went to a show about 4 weeks ago, and I wasn't running the show. Somebody else was. I put a bike in it, and I got a third, and I was super stoked that I placed, because that was the number 100 trophy I've gotten in bike shows. I was like, there's my 100 trophy right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a track record, man. 100 show awards.
100 show awards in 9.5 years. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, that's great.
I support other shows and go out and give them some love and hang out and put my bikes in their shows. And I hope that they do the same for me. Our association, we're just trying to keep everybody on the same level ball field, trying to keep everybody the same. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to incorporate it in different states, and we're looking to do a little moving next year into some other states and run some bike shows there. So we're starting.
Yeah,
out.
that was going to be one of my questions for you is like, I know there aren't that many shows right here in our area, but I know throughout the Midwest, like there's a big one in Ohio.
Indiana,
Texas has a lot of shows.
Texas has a lot. Angel Martinez runs most of the ones in Texas. Yes.
Yeah.
So would you
So
say,
I was just spreading it across the country. I didn't know if that was part of your plan and how you'd, look at doing that.
Long-term plan, little by little. We're still working on it. We're not making any money. We're getting money that comes in and goes right back out for the next show, which is fine because we all have a passion for this. It's something
Sure.
would you say one of the major goals for the association then, from what you're saying, is consistency? So that people come and it's
100% consistency. Yes. Like I said, there's shows where one guy will go out and judge all the bikes and you don't know who he is. You don't even know if your bike was judged, You'll go to other shows where they'll have 4 classes and that's it. Old school class, new school class, a pit bike class, and then maybe a clunker class. And your 80s bike stuck in with all the 80s cruisers and so forth. And it's not really a fair deal if you've got to build a cruiser build and you're putting it up against a PK Ripper 20-inch. It doesn't really, you can't judge that. That's my opinion.
So you're saying, Mark, if I show up at a bike show and they say, "Oh, you're in the blue bike class," that's not one of your shows.
No.
Blue bike's over there, the red one's over there, and the yellow one's here.
I've seen other shows where they let the contestants vote, and it's crowd participation. Well, I go to a show, I'll bring 500 of my best friends, and here, load the ballot box. I'm going to win. That doesn't seem fair.
That's a good old fashioned election process,
right? Man. Exactly. So yeah, the ABSA, we're young, we're starting, we're trying to get more members. We have a few members right now. Our grand national show is October 26th in the City of Industry during the ABA SoCal Nationals. So we're right next to them, but we're indoors on carpet, air conditioning. They have a whole bar in there. One side we're going to have vendors, the other side outside we're going to have a swap meet. And
wow.
We're going to reward all the guys that are members with a plaque and for our first year. And then we have our points awards for the guys that are members, and they'll get trophies for that. And then we'll have our regular trophies for the bike show.
That's cool. That's the fact that you've got your arms around it, you're classifying it, really whittling it down. You have people that are specialists in different areas and a true point system. It does make it a lot more interesting, and having people like yourself that have been to so many shows and participated, you kind of get your idea. Because I know Tim and I talked out at Dirtyfest when he had his bikes out there, and he brought up the one thing about the guys carrying their bikes over, and it's just how deep are you into it? And as you learn that maybe there's some things you should be doing that you're not doing yet, and that's why you didn't win yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we when we do our points, we write notes as well. And I always tell the judges in our pre-meeting that write notes, because we allow the contestants to come up and ask us questions. What did you mark me off on? And we'll flip open the book and go, here you go. We want everybody to see that so they can better their bikes or better themselves for the next show. Our books are open all the time.
That's great. Hey, I want to take a moment to remind everyone that our YouTube channel is called Radmatic. It's Radmatic with 2 T's. And make sure you go there and check out our shows like this one right here. And you know what? If you're just somebody who wants to listen while you drive or while you're working on your bike, getting your show bike ready, man, you can just have your earbuds in and you can listen to us wherever you find good, podcasts, like on Apple or there's so many of them. There were some, Tim, that I didn't even know existed that, when I started listing the show, I was like, I've never heard of FM Player. And we had like 11 downloads the first day on FM Player. And so
really? That's great.
It's all Super Rad BMX. And make sure you give us a 5-star rating. Mark, you've been way before. You know what? Before we do that, where can they find your website?
ABSAPRO.com. That's ABSAPRO.com.
And
I'm
it's easy
also
to,
on Facebook, and then we're on Instagram. We're still working on somebody to do all the social media stuff. We've had several people attempt it and then fail and are just peter out on it, and we're still working on that. But a lot of guys post our stuff on Instagram. We get a lot of good press on there. So
cool.
yeah, absapro.com. It has everything on that page you want to see. Any questions, you can ask us questions. We'll get right back to you. Dino usually gets back to the individual within a day. You know, he answers most of the questions.
I've been on your website. It's real complete. It'll tell anyone who wants to get involved where to go and how to do it. So, you know, check it out. Man,
Before we move on topics, there's one thought I have before I lose this thought. I just wanted to talk about
this isn't where you were going to ask him about that specific bike you want to put in the next show. And
yeah,
why
did I get points taken off for my seat? There was a note that said the seat is a little loose.
Was it?
But it was loose. I put it together the morning of the show, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. I just thought, here's a thought for me about the whole show process is what I like about your shows and about and about these vintage BMX shows is someday, you know, I'm going to be 63 here in a few weeks. So someday I will not be able to compete. And we've talked about this.
Yes.
But I can see myself.
You won't be able to race. You can still compete. That's what you're leaving.
Well, we can still compete because I can see myself in 20 years, you know, at 83, really getting into this show thing, you know, having a big trailer, maybe not as big as Rob Lane's trailer,
but insane, isn't it?
You know, I'm really looking forward to where this will take me, you know, in the coming years.
Yeah.
I don't have enough room down here for all the bikes I have now. So my wife and I probably will move. And if I do things right, I'll have a big outbuilding, you know, full of bikes and a workshop. But no, I just think it's wonderful. I love what you're doing. And I want to be a part of it for a long time.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be around a long time. We're working on that. We've got a lot.
You will be. Yeah, you will
be. Right now, your shows are only in California. Is that what you have Arizona,
California, Nevada.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, Arizona.
Okay. But you're looking to expand?
Yeah, back east, somewhere we're not sure exactly where. We're looking at Florida. We're looking at Texas again. Texas, pretty much, they've got their guys running their shows out there, and they do a great job at it. Mike has talked to a few people in Indiana and Ohio, and then the guys he works with, he's talked to them and their areas. So, you know, we're looking around. We want to go to Oklahoma. You know, there's a few places we want to go.
Cool. That's very cool.
Very good.
They should follow your website and follow your social media.
Yeah.
Stay abreast of all that. But all right, now let's get into. Now it's your background and your racing. I mean, because when you talked about racing cruisers, you got a big smile on your face. And I said to Tim, Tim, you guys were teammates. You raced each other. I said, buddy, this is you're going for it, man. You got all kinds of stuff to talk to Mark about. And I mean, national rankings in the cruiser class, all this stuff. So let's get into it. Tim, where do you want to take it?
Okay, well, where I can kick this off is I can talk about when you and I met, okay, because we became teammates, but we actually met a few months prior to that. Do you remember what race it was and where we were at?
I don't.
I know you do.
I don't.
You don't?
I don't. I know we met. I thought we met at Chandler, Arizona.
Okay. We might have met at Chandler, but my biggest memory of Mark Darcy would be the 1980 ABA Grands.
Okay. Yes, we did meet there.
Yeah.
That was before
It
we were
was
both on Powerlite.
Yeah, you were on Powerlite.
No, I wasn't.
I believe.
I was racing for Bike City at the time.
Oh, you were on. Were you on a Powerlite though?
I was on a 26-inch Powerlite. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I will edit the photo of that race into this video
That is
because
amazing.
we
photo.
met. It was the first time. I mean, that was basically the first year, maybe the second year of actually a cruiser class in ABA. But it was the first year, 1980 was the first year they had a cruiser class at the Grand Nationals.
Yes, it was combined with all ages. From 8 years
Right.
old up to the old guys. Yeah, I remember that. We had so many races that day, Tim. Those 2 days we raced our butts off for that main event. That main event was pretty crazy. You know, I remember when you posted that picture and you named everybody off and you said, for the life of me, I don't know who number 57 is. And I'm like, Tim, that's me, man. That was such, and Joe LeBeau's the only one on an RRS 24-inch. You know, all of the rest
Right.
of these big 26-inch bikes. It was that was crazy.
Yeah, you were in there. Scott Breithaupt was in there. Perry Kramer was in the main.
Jeff Cosmo.
Jeff Kosmala, Joe Claveau, Mark Summers from Texas was in there,
Yes.
and 2 guys from Nebraska, myself and Chris Hayden.
Yep.
Okay. So there were 8 guys in that main event. And like Mark said, they combined all ages of cruisers. So any age kid or adult could race the cruiser class. I think we had 16th mains.
We did.
The way I remember it.
Yes.
Like you had 16th mains. We had to get through the motos, the 16th mains, the 8th mains, the quarter mains, the semi mains. And we made the main.
That's right. If you look at the
Together.
picture in the background, Kevin Harlow standing on the gate, you know,
Yeah.
watching us. Yeah, there's a few people that didn't make the main that should have well been in there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that photo you can clearly see I'm looking down at my foot because my foot came off the pedals.
Is that what
Down
that
the
is?
first straight.
Okay. I
Yeah.
thought you were like powering into it.
No, unfortunately. But we actually, I don't know if we hung out. Well, that would have been the final. So we met during the races, and I know we hung out in my van. Brad and I have talked about my white van. It was on episode number 1. But anyway, we had a little game of quarters.
Yep.
You and Chris Hayden and I and maybe a couple other guys in my van on the table in there.
Yeah.
And we just had a bunch of fun and just really enjoyed ourselves at that whole event. But that's where we met. I'm pretty sure that was when we met.
Yeah. Then 2 months later we were in Chandler and we were both on Powerlite, I believe. We got that picture of you, myself, Steve Rink, and Harold Strecker. There it is, right there. Old weird Harold. Oh my God.
And I'll cut this into the video too, but this is a photo for the listeners. This is a photo of Mark Darcy and myself in our Powerlite uniforms with our bikes and our national trophies.
Yeah.
Along with Steve Rink, the founder of Powerlite, and Harold. What was Harold's last name?
Strecker.
And he's from Michigan, I
Yeah,
think.
we called him Old Weird Harold. He was it was fun.
Yeah, he was the whole Powerlite crew was fantastic.
Yeah.
Steve was such a special guy, such a great man, you know, always, he was just always so friendly, so kind, also knowledgeable, you know, just always great. Every interaction I ever had with him. And I know you guys, you know,
Very laid back, real nice. Yes. Yeah.
such a loud.
You had more interactions with Steve than I did because, you know, I was here in Nebraska, but
Yeah.
one of my biggest, you know, I don't know if you can call it a regret because I don't like to talk about regrets, but I should have stayed on the team longer.
Me too.
And
I feel the same.
I really should have. And the only thing that lured me away was Mongoose was offering contingency money if you won on a cause cruiser If you weren't ran the bars, if you ran, you know,
Oh,
and
it's so
somehow I
funny you
thought
say
that was an amazing deal, and it really wasn't, because it actually took until like the next year to get my check for $700 or whatever it amounted to be.
It's funny you
So
bring that up because I was lured away by Bassett, the same deal. And he was promising me 300 to first, 200 to second, 100 for third at nationals. And he paid me, but I wish I would have stayed on Powerlite longer. Yes. Powerlite was good to me. I met Steve at Orange. I was racing the 20-inch expert and then 20-inch open and then cruiser. And I had tripled on a Friday night, a Sunday, and a Wednesday all in a row. And Steve came up to me, and that's when he offered me the ride, and wow, it was amazing. I remember the first time when he came over to my house in Huntington Beach and brought over the 24-inch, the very first one he made. And it was a raw frame. And he says, "Can you put it together?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." And I put it together and went out to Prado and raced it. And I was all over the map on that thing. I couldn't hit a jump and land or anything. It was so different. It was in between a 20-inch and a cruiser. And it was so weird to me. But, after riding it a little while, I got used to it and it was great.
Powerlite took us both a long way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got national exposure from that.
Yes.
It was a good deal for both of us.
Yeah, Steve Rink did send us a lot of places. I traveled with Tommy quite a bit. I went back east for those 3 races in Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana. And I stayed with our other teammate, Eric Lutz. I don't remember if you ever met him or not, but he was racing for Steve back there in Ohio. And he was super fast, and he stayed with me for a month and blew out his knee and went home. And that was the end of his career. Yeah.
Thanks.
That's a bummer. Yeah, it's now, Tim, your first 24, was it your RRS?
No, I had a 24-inch Powerlite.
Oh,
too.
you did? Okay.
I won a couple of nationals on the 24-inch frame here in the Midwest. The ones Mark didn't go to.
Come on, dude. I raced you a few times and you kicked my butt quite a few times out there. So I'm not gonna.
I think I was racing Pro Cruiser maybe a little bit before you turned pro, before you raced Pro Cruiser. So we probably, a lot of times we go to the race and we didn't have to race each other because we were in different classes.
Yeah, it was always exciting to watch you race because you were super fast. I wanted to be like you in so many ways. Watching you with the big guys, because the big guys were always the fun ones to watch, and I never missed those races.
Yeah.
Fun times for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, Mark, you rode for Bassett for a while, you said?
Yes, I rode for Bassett for probably 3 years. He had designed a 24-inch frame that was a 20-inch rear end with a 24-inch front end. And the first time I got on that bike and took it around Orange, it was like that bike was made for me. I was super fast out of the gate, real responsive in the turns. It just felt perfect for me. I put on a set of regular Cook Brothers bars that were, for 20 inches with an inverted stem, and it just seemed right to me. And, a lot of guys give me crap not using cruiser bars. Tim rode with cruiser bars. I couldn't ride with cruiser bars. It just didn't work for me. I didn't like being all scrunched down and out. I like to be up high, but Bassett was, it was good. Chuck Rogers was a nice guy back then. I met Denny and Dirk, David Howe, and quite a few other guys. We had a guy from Australia come over, Paul, and hung out with him quite a bit. We went on tour for like 2 years. We were going to all the nationals, in a motorhome, and we didn't do the team trophy thing or anything like that, but we were all just winning our classes like they were nothing. Everybody that was on a Bassett did really well, and there were quite a few guys that were on Bassets. Even John Paiva from back east was on a Bassett. Woody Edson was riding a Bassett in the skate parks. God, I could go through a bunch of names. Everybody that rode Bassett did really well. And, it's sad the way it ended. Chuck just dropped everything, quit everything. I continued to race that bike up until 97. And I still have that bike today. And it's the one Tim's seen it at the shows. I still show it. I've had it re-chromed, and I cleaned it up. It's exactly the way I raced it. Front brakes, rear brakes, and the 200 millimeter Ashtabula cranks, just the way I like to ride it. I like those things. And yeah,
A 20-inch rear wheel?
a 20-inch rear end.
Oh, rear end. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I didn't think.
Super small. Yeah, it's not like a normal 24-inch.
Yeah.
Joe Claveau rode the first one. Oh, actually, he didn't. I take that back. Troy Daniels rode the first 24 in Anaheim.
That's right.
Right. It was a Schwinn. I can't think of the brand name. It was a 24-inch Schwinn, and the wheels that were made from it were actually unicycle wheels. He relaced them to some nice hubs and put them on there because they were 24-inch wheels back then. That wasn't a thing. A 24-inch was not even thought of. So Craig came up with some really good innovations, and especially that eccentric bottom bracket, and the cantilever brakes on a cruiser. It was just like, wow, this thing is just light years ahead. Joe Claveau was a hard one to beat. He, I've talked to Craig several times over the past few years, and Craig said that at every race that I went to that Joe didn't, he would find another national where Joe could get more points, and he would find out where I was going, and him and Joe would go somewhere else. And play that points game. And I think Joe ended up beating me out of National One by like 32 points or something. He just got me. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, losing to
That's
Joe
tight.
Is just it was okay with me because he was such a great competitor, so much fun to be around. Hanging out with him at the Nationals. He was an amazing racer. Back then we had to race Timmy Judge, we had to race Daryl Young and all those guys, because it was like 14 to 21 cruiser. Then it changed to 50.
Oh, that class was stacked.
It was.
Yeah, Brad and I were working at ABA at the time, and I remember when you were on Bassett, specifically we were on Bassett, because I can still remember snapping pictures of you with your number 2 plate on Bassett, for the magazine and for the newspaper, and wishing I was still racing, of course.
Well, you're killing me on the track now, man. I can't even keep up with you. It's not even fun anymore, man.
The 24s, though, when they came out, they changed everything, it changed everything in that class.
Yeah, like I said, RRS had the first, and then Powerlite had the second, and then everybody else just followed suit right away because they were selling. Everybody wanted a 24-inch Powerlite. I mean, everybody did. He had the 3-bar, then he had the 2-bar, the regular bar, and it took off pretty heavy.
It was.
I prefer the 26-inch bikes, though. I don't know about you. It's more fun. Yeah.
Well, see, there's a difference. You're a lot taller than me, Tim. So, like, the 24s were suited better for me, for my body style. So
you need a 25. I'm assuming. Or a 23 and a half.
I'm racing the 26-inch class now, but I'm racing a Star Cruiser, a Bassett Star Cruiser, 1978, and it's like a Schwinn. Big tires on it. I love that bike. It rides real nice on the track. If I got on my 24-inch, which I've done a few times, I look like a circus bear on a little bike. It doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? It's definitely different.
I know exactly what you mean. You remember I had my 77 Powerlite out at Dirtyfest when you were out there with us and we were all together, and I forgot how small that bike was. At least it felt so small to me now. And I said, I'll never race that again. It's just,
I think it was a junior size frame.
It was, it was small. And I said, first of all, I was afraid I was going to break it because it's only been raced. I think that was the only time it's ever been raced, because we got that bike from Steve Rink for a photo shoot at Bicycles and Dirt.
Wow.
Tim and I rode it around the track a little bit. Then it sat in my garage since the issue, and I put it together for Dirtyfest. And so I didn't want to break that piece of history,
I put together my 79 Powerlite. I got my childhood bike back, my first real race bike. And
is that white?
Yes, the white one.
I've seen it on your website. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I remember rolling it out of my den into the living room and going, "Hey, babe, I'm done with it. What do you think?" And she goes, "You raced that thing?" And I said, she goes, "It's too tiny." And I go, "Yeah, that's how they were back then. They weren't big bikes like they are now." And she goes, "But you're so big and that's so small." Like, right. I was 100 pounds less too. So
yeah, we weren't always this big.
yeah.
But I know my wife says the same thing. She goes, "You're going to race those little bikes?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to race the little bike." You know?
The little bikes are fun. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, the Bassett days were great. I had really good times with that, After Bassett disintegrated, I pretty much just kept racing it. And I raced for 3D Racing, S&M for a little bit, maybe a year with S&M. Chris Moore really helped me out on that stuff. And, that was pretty much, I think, right after I lost my leg and I wanted to try to race again. And Chris backed me 100% on that. I proved it to myself. I ended up state number 9 and I went, okay, made the top 10. I'm done, but I'm not done. I'm still out there racing the downhill tracks and having the time of my life.
That's awesome. What part of California did you live in? Where was your hometown?
Beach.
Huntington Beach?
Yes, Huntington Beach, California.
Yeah.
I was born in Pasadena, moved there when I was a year old and grew up in Huntington, went to high school there. I moved out of Huntington, I don't know, 1990, I think. Lived in Westminster for a few years and then moved back to Huntington, then to Costa Mesa. Now I reside in Irvine, which is real close to Huntington Beach. So yeah. I'm still in the same general area.
You're just down the road from me. I'm up in Cowan Heights above Tustin.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well,
we didn't get together. I didn't know you were that close.
Yeah, I am. I'm that close. And it brings me to a thing. I get very sad about BMX when I look around, and you can relate to this, being I didn't even grow up here, but I've been here since, 80 something. Like I think I moved here in 86. But there used to stumble over a BMX track.
Yes.
And now you can't even hardly find a BMX track.
You had Irvine, you had La Mirada, you had Orange, you had Azusa, you had the 3 down in the Bay Area, down in Long Beach area. What was it? Alpine Village, Ascot, and the other one down there. They were everywhere around here. You could race 3 times a day if you were fast enough. We'd race Irvine in the morning, go to Azusa, get back to Orange at night. There were a lot of tracks. Yeah. I go by the old Orange track all the time. And I there and I shake my head because it's so sad. It's just an empty lot sitting there.
There's just mounds of dirt and you just think how easy it could be, and
yeah, it's kind of a bummer.
It really
is.
I
think the closest track to me right now would probably be Bellflower. And that's this time of day. You're looking at an hour and a half, 2 hours to get there,
Yeah. It's and Tim and I have spoke on the show and off the show about one of the other things is there used to be a dirt lot with jumps literally within every 2 or 3 miles. I mean, it didn't matter what city, but out here in California, like when I was running Vision Streetwear and part of that, we used to take Billy Griggs or whatever pro or whatever and just go, oh, well, let's just go down the street to here and there's some jumps, or we'd go over this way and there's some jumps. Yeah. And you couldn't do that now. You'd have to get in the car and make a real trek to find some jumps,
Yeah, we used to do Centennial Park all the time. And, that's over, I think it was just outside of Fountain Valley in Santa Ana. Or we do Bolsa Chica wetlands, or we go to the dips in El Toro. There was always jumping places, now no, there's not. Well, Sheep Hills is still there, but that's getting destroyed by the kids on the motorbikes now and electric bikes.
But I think, don't you guys both think that that's kind of where kids first start out? They start out jumping, they start out getting excited, then jumping turns into competition. Who can jump better, farther, more stylish. Then that evolves into racing. And,
That's right. We didn't even, I didn't even know about racing for a few years. I was just jumping and riding on trails with my friends, because we didn't have a track yet. And yeah, you don't look around and see a bunch of kids riding around in dirt lots like you used to see back in the 70s.
Well, and out
So,
here, there aren't even,
it's just everything's changed.
everything's developed. It's
Right.
hard to find an open area.
Yeah, that's
But
not-
on the subject of tracks, Mark, I was going to ask, one of the questions we sort of prepped with would be, like, of all those tracks you mentioned, what was your favorite track?
Orange.
Or did you have a favorite track?
Orange. I loved Orange. I helped build that track. I raced the first race there. I have a picture of me racing the first race there, and then I have a picture of me racing the last race there. That was my home track 3 days a week for from 76 up till 85, something like that. It was my home track 3 days a week. It just always at Orange.
And it's like a decade of your life.
Yeah, I did like Irvine. I loved La Mirada. I like that downhill going fast. Corona it's kind of crazy. I raced Corona maybe 1 or 2 times, and I don't know why I didn't race there more often. I think back and I look at my pictures from all the racing I've done, and I see maybe 1 or 2 pictures of me racing Corona, and I'm like, wow, how come I didn't race there as much? I race Snipes all the time, Norco, but Corona once or twice. It's odd, but yes, Orange was my favorite, by far my favorite. I liked it when it was old school. You could just ride onto the track anywhere and have a fence around it and all that.
Did you ever get to race Orange, Tim?
I never got to race there. We went there to cover a race once, but I didn't get to race it.
I raced Orange.
Once I started working at ABA, all the fun went away.
Yeah, I see it draining out of a few.
I got to go to a lot of races. I just didn't,
We
get to
went to
ride
a
with
lot of cities, a lot of races, and you don't know anything about them. All it was the blur of the dirt. I went to the last race at at Orange also. That last race they had, everybody was there, saw a bunch of people. But it's just so disappointing to drive by now and see it and think about how many kids were influenced by BMX at that one location, especially location. Right there, how many millions of cars go past there, and people would
right off the freeway.
Yep.
And I would be driving home from work. Mark, my office is at the 55 and the 91. And so I would drive home, and I would, I guess Wednesday nights, right? I would see all the bikes coming down the 55 on the backs of cars. And, I miss that. I don't see that anymore. I used to see it all the time,
We used to go
Now,
there.
isn't there talk of bringing that back? I think I saw an article
Todd
on social media.
and Toby Henderson and a few others are working on getting it back, and they're getting pretty close to completing that, which would be really neat to see that track up and running.
That'd be fantastic.
It would be.
In the same location?
Yes.
Oh man, that would be fantastic for you guys. Brad could go out there. He could race that Powerlite. I mean, my God.
There you go.
Wednesday nights we couldn't do podcasts on Wednesday nights anymore.
Right, we'd have to change the night, It'd be, or I could do it from out there, Tim.
I don't know if you remember, Brad, but
live.
Big O Skate Park.
I don't remember that one. No.
I was right across the freeway on the other side from Orange.
Oh, really? That was before my time then. Yeah.
We'd go there early on Friday nights and go ride the skate park and then go race.
That would be
always fun.
That'd be super rad. So, but Tim, something else I want to get into.
Yes, Almighty One.
Is
Here we go.
Your restoration of bikes. I mean, you don't only do it for yourself, you do it for other people as well, correct?
Oh yeah, he does. I've seen them. Does amazing jobs.
What's that? You.
Me?
Yeah, you're our guest.
Yeah, I do.
I know everything about Tim. Come on.
You don't want to know about me.
I do a lot of restorations on bikes, and I enjoy every minute of it. I've been blessed with some really, really cool bikes. I I started off just doing 80s and, sticking in that era. And then a few people brought over some 70s bikes. And I was like, okay, I got to try different polishes, nickel polishes, and this, and that. And I found a system that gets nickel looking brand new again. And it's just like, oh, wow, this is fun. And then I fell in love with the 70s bikes. I like building bikes. I try to vision the bikes. I talk to the individual, how they raced. I know who they are. And I try to vision how they've raced that bike, and I put it together for them like that. I did a bike for 7-time world champion himself,
Motocross guy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. He's grabbing something for us here.
My first check from him.
Oh.
Jeremy McGrath.
Oh,
There we go.
sweet.
He has all his old VDCs, and he wanted me to build him a pit bike, and I built him a pit bike, and it was just amazing. It came out, that was probably one of my most favorite builds besides Miranda's monoshock. He had all the parts, he has all the frames, he still has all his old bikes, and he brings them over every now and then and says, hey, can you do this to this? Yeah, leave it right there.
That's cool.
Yeah, I do like building bikes. I have fun with it. I've probably had somewhere in the neighborhood of between 25 and 30 show bikes. And now I just have my Bassets. I've, got my wife's 79. I have my 78. I put a 78 in the BMX Museum Hall of Fame. Another one I had, and then I have my 24. I'm building a 20-inch pro frame. Doesn't have the wheels on it yet. And then I've got my mini.
A little lightweight there, yeah.
Only 3 minis made, and guy called me up, said, hey, Mark, I got this mini. I know you like Bassett's. You want it? And I went, yeah. So I'm
Of course.
Yeah, the only bike I don't have is a swooper, but I still build. I still have fun. Eric, I don't know if you know Eric Browning or not. He does a lot of shows, and I've built probably 15 of his show bikes, and a lot of them I don't judge because I know the bikes, and it wouldn't be fair because I look at them and go, yeah, I built that. Pens all the way across the board, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But he's really into BMX, and he collects the very rare ones. So there's a lot of different ones I build. He has a lot of nice ones that I like to build. Your Track Masters and your DG Banties, the minis, the 16 inches, things like that. Yeah.
Is there a bike that you haven't had your hands on yet that you would just love to see come across your bench?
Yes. Gary Turner has it in his office, and every time I go over there, I pick it up and play with it. And he's like, you want to build it or you want to sell it? I'm like, I want to build it, man. Give me some money, give me some parts, let me build it. It's a G-Boy. And it's just an awesome frame. It's a G-Boy.
Oh,
G-Boy.
a G-Boy, yeah.
It's brand new. It's still in the original plastic. It's never been molested, put together. Same with the forks. And every time I go in there, I grab it. I just hold on to it.
Wow.
What color is it? Is it
Red.
gold?
That burgundy red color, yeah.
Because Tim and I had a team bike. Remember that team bike we had? It was a gold G.
We had a gold G-Boy. Where did it go?
I know,
right?
it disappeared.
It was like,
we've got it in photos, and that's all we have.
When we first started racing, we thought at the first few races, we thought, oh, we need to bring a backup bike. We got to have backup bikes and backup parts. We had moto mags hanging from the ceiling of our box truck, and we had the G-Boy. Nobody ever raced the G-Boy.
No,
I don't know what happened to it.
Sitting next to my bike, and and we remember thinking back, oh, it was so cool, but none of us ever raced it. I don't know what the deal was. So
that's a neat bike.
Yeah,
that's a cool bike. I love the gusset, that big old gusset with the big holes in it.
Yes, that is one bike I really want to build. I think Miranda's bike, his Dan Gertie monoshock, was another one of my real favorites to build.
That's cool.
He handed me 2 moto mags, and they had 90% of them have spokes missing in them. And if you can find one with all the spokes not broken or anything, you've got yourself some gold there. Well, I was looking at it, and I said, I think I can fix that. And he says, well, if you can't, don't worry about it. They all look like that. Oh, I found a way to fix those, and you can't even tell. You can't even tell that I put a piece in there. It looks all original. You know,
So the spoke was like broken off and missing.
yes. One of the little
You
spokes.
better not. I'd ask about how you did that, but then you'd have to reveal one of your
I'll tell you later.
secrets.
Yeah. I was staring at it one day and I looked at it and I go, I use that stuff in prosthetics. You know, when I build prosthetics, it hit me, and I started going to town and working with some pieces of metal and figured it out, and it came out really nice. Mike even looked at it and went, dude, which one was broken? You can't even.
Nice.
That's how you want them to ask, right? Not go right to it. Now, gosh, I had a great question. It was the question of the night, and I can't remember it now. So that's what happens when we get older and have fallen down on our BMX bikes too many times.
CRS.
Yes. Tim, did you have another question for him about the restoration of the bikes and stuff?
What? Who are you guys?
I knew he was going to do it.
Well, let me just look. I think I'd just like to ask Mark, like, is there anything else about maybe, about your show organization or about restoring bikes that, that comes to mind, like a good story or another bike you worked on that was cool?
I got all kinds of stories.
Hey, Mark, are rare bikes out there still?
Yes.
They're everywhere. They're still out there in garages, at garage sales everywhere, aren't they?
When I found Erin's, her cruiser, which is right behind me, the ladies Bassett, the going price was between $1,100 and $1,500 for a frame and fork. And I didn't have that kind of money. And I went to the swap meet, the local swap meet, the motorcycle swap meet in Long Beach. And they have bikes there and stuff. And I wanted to just buy a cruiser, like the one you have, Tim, the one I sent to you, the Schwinn.
Schwinn? Yeah.
I rolled up to this guy and I looked down. I had all the parts and I said, "What is that?" And he looked up at me like he was really annoyed that I asked him. And he says, "It's a Schwinn." And he put his head back down. And I said, "What year?" And he looked up at me. He goes, "Are you serious? It's pre-war." And put his head back down. And I went, all right. I rode off, and thank God that happened, because I rode across the way and I saw a lady's frame laying on a carpet, with a bunch of car parts and stuff. And it was purple. And as I got closer, I go, "Oh, that's a loop tail." And I got closer and I picked it up and I flipped it over and I saw the Bassett badge on it, and I just instantly death gripped it. And I was looking around, there was nobody standing there. And the guy rolled up to me and said, "Hey, you like that, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, how much?" And he goes, $10. I was lost.
Oh my God.
I didn't even know what to say. And I just stared at him. And he goes, "Is that too much?" And I go, "No." "You got any more?" And he goes, "Nah, we got that years ago. We spray painted with some car paint. And, I don't want it. It's been hanging in the garage." And I went, yeah, I gave him $10, and I went straight to my car, threw it in my car, and tore off home. And when I got home, I noticed that some of the paint was scratched off, and I saw chrome. So I got the paint remover out and sprayed it. It's perfect chrome underneath. They just spray painted over the chrome, and I was like, "Oh my God." And I'll never forget, my wife came out and she said, "Is that mine?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, I want it to be all purple and chrome." And I said, "Okay." And she goes, "I want those holy rims." And I go, "Holy rims?" She goes, "Yeah, the holy rims." And I go, "I mean the pro class rims." Now we're going to get expensive here. Okay. So I put it all together for her. But yeah, that's one of my favorite stories too. Finding it for $10. I mean, that was the steal of the century. There are,
oh man, what a deal.
Rare bikes.
And you clinched it and raced home with it and looked behind you to make sure the guy wasn't chasing you because he realized what it was worth.
Exactly. A couple of my friends.
Did you say $10?
Yeah.
10?
I just stared at him for like 5-10 seconds. I didn't even know what to say. I was just like, okay, I'll give you $10 for it.
And that's amazing, because I've been to that swap meet and that you're talking about. You talking about over in Long Beach at Veterans?
Yes.
Yeah. And there's guys that are really knowledgeable there.
Yes.
There's guys that have the stuff, and you go, "Hey, how much you want for that mongoose?" $1,000. I mean, it's, it's so to find that, but there's the people that come there just to get rid of all the junk that's been sitting in their garage, and
The Bassets, the 78 Bassets, like the one I race, it's they only made 30 of those in 1978. I have two of them. I know somebody else that has two of them, and I know somebody else that has one of them, and those are the only ones I know of. And I'm always scouting around the sites to look at other people's bikes and stuff. And the 79s, lady frames, they made, I think, 50 of them, and then they made 250 of the regular Star Cruisers, and then it went up. And then in 1981, they put Rogers Manufacturing on the tab instead of Bassett headers. And Anaheim, California. If you find the ones that say Rogers Manufacturing, now that's a rare one too.
That's super rare, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people, it's pretty much what you like. Everybody wants a PK Ripper. That's why the price is up so high. Everybody wants the Cook Brothers. There's a million of them out there, but the prices are just out of this world. I don't understand that part, but
you have to find that stuff at a garage sale. Somebody who just getting rid of it at a garage sale, and they just want to get rid of it,
Exactly.
I was talking to someone not too long ago, and they were saying that they were at a garage sale and they saw an XYZ frame and didn't buy it because that's not what they wanted. And I said, but you should have bought it anyway, because you could have put that you could have flipped it and put it towards what you really want. And they were like, oh yeah, because I found a JMC at a garage sale once, and I asked the guy, how much you want for that? And he goes, oh, a guy just bought it. He was walking by and he went home to get his car to bring it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even want to ask him how much, because I knew it was cheap. It was a complete bike with everything. It was like the day it rolled off the track, and I did have to ask him, and he goes, you gave me $200 for it, man. And I was like, oh,
Oh my God. That was the one you told me about.
Yeah.
That was the one you told me about, was hanging in a garage.
Yes, it was like a block from my house.
Oh,
a block from my house. And I think it back. I should have said, I'll give you 300 before the guy comes back.
Right. Exactly. But, a friend of mine brought me over a set of box bars that were aluminum. And he goes, I don't know what these are, but can you clean them up? And I said, I know what they are. And he goes, what? And I go, they're DG bars. He goes, are you sure? And I called my DG guru, sent him a million pictures. He goes, oh, dude, 100% DG. So I asked him, I said, would you pay for these? He goes, $10. Right now, you probably sell them for $300-400.
Yeah.
They look brand new again. They were spray bombed. They got dings and dents, and I fixed all that on them and made them look real nice again.
Hey, these were kids' bikes back then. That's
Right.
what happened to that stuff. And then another, a friend of mine who's a car builder, who's really into restoring BMX bikes, he was standing outside of his shop one day, and a homeless woman went by, and he goes, Brad, I'm standing there, and she was riding by down the street, like the dirt part that went along the canal, and he goes, I looked down, and she's riding a pro class mongoose with, he goes, with everything. He goes, it was ratty. He goes, it was, and I walk over and I go, hey lady, you want to sell your bike? She goes, no, it's how I get around. He goes, I'll give you $200 for it. And she went, okay. And he goes, because I wheeled it in my shop, man, And
oh man, he left her without any wheels though.
Hey, she was happy. He had $200, and but he goes, you just never know where they're gonna be,
They pop up all the time. Things pop up. I hear my friends all the time. They post pictures of bikes they found at a garage sale, or somebody posted online. You'd be interested in this, Tim. One of my friends brought his monoshock out to the Lakewood show. It's oh God, it's two names, but they're old names, and it's like a 76 or 77 monoshock. Oh gosh, I can see the label in my head, but I can't think of the name. Name some old school cruisers.
Cruisers?
Yeah, like 70s, 80s cruisers.
Cruisers or monoshock?
Laguna.
Oh, there you go.
Laguna. That my first guess was right.
Yeah, I think it's Laguna something. Laguna, like and it has a slash and another name on it. It's super, super, super nice. It's beautiful. And it's all original, and it looks like it's been hanging in a barn for 30-40 years.
And it's a cruiser or a monoshock?
Oh, it's a monoshock. But it has a cruiser name on it. I was looking for
LRV. Is it LRV?
He's got an LRV. He also has a tandem LRV. They made those. Remember that?
I do. I remember
I'm
seeing
gonna
a
try
few of
something.
those.
I'm gonna try something here. Hang on.
You know what's interesting is that some of the bikes that we knew about, but we're like, nah, I don't want one of those. I want a Webco, or I want a DG or whatever. Now
Yeah.
some of those are starting. Some of the other ones, like the CYCs, the LRVs, and some of those are starting to get like, oh, wouldn't mind having one of those in my
Was
car.
it that one?
No. I take it back. It's a Little John
That's
Murphy.
an LRV.
Yeah, it's a Little John Murphy. That's what he had.
Okay.
Oh, a little.
All right.
No.
That's an LRV right there.
Hey, I want that.
Which
I want
you
that.
see how it has the back end? It's just like a Matthews, but when they changed it to LRV, they put this kind of a dropout on it instead.
It's beautiful, Tim.
And the Matthews had more of a hook dropout, but it's the same frame other than that.
Hey,
And
Tim.
those are Matthews forks.
Hey, Tim. You do
Yes,
know
sir.
that people can't see this on the audio podcast, right? So you're gonna have to show a photo.
This thing is.
People have real good imagination.
I'm kidding. You can't even show a photo on the podcast on the audio.
Do not leave that thing anywhere near
But
me.
what he's showing us is one of the bikes that he's in the midst of restoring, which very similar to a Matthews with the flat flexi forks
The
and
girder forks. They're girder forks. Come
yeah.
on. Yeah.
And those things, I remember when they first came out, and you could kind of go back and forth, and well, we should probably start wrapping this up. Is there anything, Mark, that let's again talk about where they can find the American Bike Show Association Pro website?
ABSAPRO.com.
And on Instagram, you're where?
Yep, same thing. ABSA Pro 2024.
2024. Okay.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants a bike restored, how do they get a hold of you?
You go to my Facebook page, or go to Bike Creations by Darcy on Facebook. I'm on there as well.
So it's either Mark Darcy or Bike Creations by Darcy on Facebook, and they can get a hold of you. And I could bring over a bike to you on a Monday, and by Friday afternoon have it ready for the next show, right?
It all depends.
You know what? There is another question here. Where do you source a lot of your parts to get an authentic restoration, or is it up to the customer to bring you what they need?
A lot of times the customer brings me some stuff. When I source out parts, I have guys that I call that have those parts, and we work out deals with them. And, I introduce them to the individual, and they work out a deal, and then I get the parts, and I'll clean them up and tune them up and straighten them up and put them on.
Okay.
A lot of times I can source out parts. I can find MX 1000s. They go for 100 and 180 to 250 depending on condition, and I can find them for $50-$60 and make them look brand new. I love MX 1000s. Those brakes don't work for crap, but I love them.
We talk about stuff we've bought. I talk about MX 1000s. I went down to Laguna to buy a set, brand new, never been bolted on a bike. And the guy met me in his driveway, and he brought them out like I just bought like something from Uber Eats. They were in a little shopping bag, one of those little shopping bags with he brings it out, and I'm thinking, I hope this is the right guy, because he told me what address, and he just came walking out of a house with a bag, and I look in, and there they are. I mean, and it was just, and I don't know if this guy, I didn't know, he did not look like a BMX type guy. Let's just say, I don't know if there's a look, but I said to him, I go,
oh, there's a look.
Yeah. I go, where'd you come across these at? And he goes, oh, they were left over from a restoration. And he opens his garage door, and he had like 3 bikes hanging on his walls. And I was like, wow, I would have never guessed that, and it was just luck, but it's funny when you said that, this whole vision came in my head of these brakes that I bought from this guy in Laguna.
You were talking about, in the very beginning, we rode dirt jumps around and jumps, tires with a wood ramp going up in the street, that kind of thing. that's pretty much how I started. I probably had every color stroker there was out there. They were $59 back in the day, and I would break them jumping them all the time. Off roofs into pools. I mean, in 6th grade, 5th grade, I was jumping off a roof into a pool with my bike. I got in a lot of trouble for it, but it was fun, and around 6th grade, 7th grade, here's a name you might know, Brian Lewis.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
Wrote a stroker on the cover of BMX Action.
one of the
First issue.
Yeah.
the kids I went to school with, he says, "You like your bikes all the time. You're always riding your BMX bikes." He goes, "Want to meet my cousin? He races them." And I said, "Yeah." And he took me over to Brian's house, and Brian took me out to Western Sports Arena and introduced me to BMX, and I was hooked the first time I saw it. Just absolutely hooked, because I like to hit the dirt trails. I rode Sheep Hills when it was on the top, not down by the river jetty. It was just a few jumps up there, big long riding trails, everything. And yeah, I mean, get Mark on his bike first thing on a Saturday morning, you don't see him till the streetlights come on at night, and yeah.
You said jumping off of roofs. It's funny how your mindset changes, because I remember seeing, Bry Hop and all the guys in the magazines jumping off roofs and I think, and we all thought back then, oh, that'd be so rad, man. Jump and cross up and land in the pool. And I think now, I wouldn't want a kid messing up the roof of my house, let alone the liability. Your mindset changes totally,
I had been doing it all day long at the neighbor's house, and it was like summertime, and I came home and I laid down because I was tired from swimming and jumping off the roof all day. And my dad woke me up and he said, "You jumping off Hubbard's roof into his pool with your bike?" And I said, "Yeah." And he smiled. He said, "Well, Mr. Hubbard's out here. He wants to talk to you."
Awesome. It seems to be a theme on these last few podcasts. We talked about this with Bill Ryan about jumping off of roofs or jumping from roof to roof.
Yeah, he jumped from roof to roof, and then
he wrote "jump from roof to roof" at his school.
That's crazy. I jumped off our school roof on one of my strokers and broke the cranks and the frame.
Oh man!
I mean, stupid stuff. Stupid stuff.
Tim,
I can remember jumping into a pool off the roof at the Holiday Inn in Amarillo, Texas. I remember that.
Nice.
Road stories. Yeah.
I saw Andy Patterson do that at the Grands, and we got kicked out of the Holodome from him doing that. He came down.
I think we got kicked out of all the Holodomes.
Yeah, I know, right?
For those of you who don't know, Holodomes were a domed Holiday Inn, and a Holiday Inn was a motel.
Yes.
Yeah. And they had little putt golf course in there that made perfect BMX tracks.
Yep. Exactly. Oh man. I think, Tim, did we talk in the first episode and about the infamous carpet jump? Did we talk about that in the first episode?
I don't think, like in Chris Hayden's garage.
Yes.
We carpet jump.
Oh, Chris Hayden's dad.
Tell it again. I don't know. I don't think we did.
If we did, we'll tell it again because it's worth it. Chris Hayden's house had a 3-car garage, virtually empty. So it's wintertime. The driveway's cleared off, and we had a snow jump, but that only lasts so long. And so we decided to make a BMX track by racing in, open all the garage doors. His parents are gone, of course. Open all the garage doors, race in one door and out the far door. Well, that was fun, but it was just flat. And Chris goes, "Oh, wait a minute. My dad's got a carpet in here." His dad owned a flooring and carpet company.
Oh, my God.
So this carpet was probably about 24 inches around, and it was about 12 feet long. And he pulls it, puts it right in the center of the garage. It became our jump, all rolled up.
Yeah.
We're coming bunny hopping it, hitting it, doing this all day long.
Smacking into it.
With our wet tires from being outdoors in the snow and the mud. And his dad pulls up, and I'll never forget, Klaus was like, "What are you doing?" And it was some like rare Persian rug.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Okay. That's
yeah.
I remember we were all like, "Oops, we better go home now," Oh,
my gosh, that's
We
fun.
came up with creative ways to ride in the wintertime. Like we'd make snow jumps. I've got some pictures of us jumping off. You could do complete tabletops and do anything you wanted in the air because you landed in a nice soft snowbank. And then we'd set up courses in our driveways and like
we
like
did that
Brad
snow
said,
berm that one time where we poured water on it. It was like ice, but then it
yeah.
was fun.
Oh my God. Huntington Beach in the 80s along the boardwalk, they had ice plants, but they were about, I don't know, 3-4 feet up in the air. And they're like squares. And we built ramps up those. We just ride up them and make a ramp. And you could do a perfect tabletop and just land like that on the ice plant. It wouldn't hurt. And we do that all the time. I'm going to do a tabletop. Perfect. Boom. And land like that,
God, so much fun, all because of BMX. And here we said we were going to stop, and here we're moving. And it's still fun. But
I'm having a blast.
hey, man, Mark, it's been so great having you on Super Rad BMX Podcast, man.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me on the show, Tim. It's always great to see you, my friend. I look
Oh
forward.
man, I was looking forward to this, my friend. I definitely. And we can have you back on here again too. Anytime you've got something new to tell. Maybe you want to do a Mark Darcy part 2.
Yeah, Dino Bartoli this time. Dino's a lot of fun to talk to.
It'd be great.
Yeah, I thought about that. I thought about getting Dino on here too. Definitely. Yeah.
And maybe at some point we do a show live from one of the events where we can actually talk about the bikes, talk to the owners, people that have backstories, all kinds of cool stuff. That'd be neat.
Awesome. I mean, we got Frogtown coming up. You guys can walk around there and do all you want.
Would love to, but I'm not going to make Frogtown this year. I don't know about Tim. You going to make it, Tim?
I was going to talk to Mark after we signed off, but I'll talk to him now. Mark.
Well, wait.
Talk to me, Tim.
I've blown out my knee.
Oh no.
Yeah. It basically hurts to stand on it. So as of right now, it's not looking like I'll be there. I'll be there in spirit if I can't be there in person. So
won't be any fun then, man, because I look forward to racing with you. You know that.
I know. But we've got plenty more. I mean, like I said earlier, we're going to be doing this for at least 20 more years, maybe more, right?
Let's definitely hope so. And
you know what's really funny is my wife, the first time she went to Frogtown with us. You know how it is when we get up on the gate, right? It's the eyes get big, the body gets tense, we get all tense, waiting for that gate to drop. I came back after the first lap and she goes, "Why are you so tense?" She goes, "You're 60 years old. You're not 18 anymore." Yeah, but my mind tells me I'm 18 when I get on the track.
Oh yeah. Yeah, your mind and your body just click because they know what to do.
When you get on the bike, you're 18 again. That's the thing.
That's right. That's right.
Last year, the tabletop after the first turn, I hit that the first time and landed on top of it. And the second time, I cleared it. And I went 10 more laps just to clear that tabletop because it was so much fun. 60.
Yeah, there was some real speed at that point. I mean, it was real easy just to do a nice, straight, clean jump, land on the backside.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I did. And it felt like I was 18 all over again. That's why I do these big races. They're fun. Tim, I hope you can make it, man. I really do. Come help us with the show. Hang out. Come put your bikes in the show. Hang out.
Yeah, there you go. You can.
I know.
Show your bike.
So yeah, we'll see. But anyway, like I said, I'll see you down the road. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I like Brad's idea of coming to a show.
Yeah,
and doing a podcast from one of your bike shows.
We would be honored to have you guys there.
That'd be fun. We'll have to make arrangements to do that. So, all right, everyone. Well, we appreciate you listening to Super Rad BMX. Tell your friends. Tell everybody how much fun you have in listening or watching. Remember, you can watch on YouTube at Radmatic with 2 T's, or you can listen anywhere, including Apple Podcasts or anywhere that you can find a podcast. And go there. Give us a positive rating. Tell your friends. And don't forget to go and find the ABSAPRO.com website. Check it out. Build a bike. Go and show it. And have some fun. You know what? You could take your kid, your grandkid, build a bike together, and then go to the show. because I've heard some people tell me, "Oh man, I love what you're doing, but I could never go out and race again because of this or that." Well, now you have a way to get involved. Go do it. The ABSAPRO. And everybody, we'll be back next week. That's a promise, not a threat.
Thank you.
See you next time. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
This is the Super Rad BMX Podcast. Down the first straight is the cruising Cornhusker over the jump bonsai Brad. Now your host Brad Fanshaw and Tim Lilladora.
Get ready to represent the Super Rad BMX Podcast in style with these rad BMX t-shirts. They're perfect for listening to your favorite Super Rad BMX Podcast episodes, hitting the track, or cruising around town, and showing off your passion for BMX culture. Join the Super Rad BMX community and showcase your love for this podcast with these awesome vintage BMX t-shirts. Order yours today on radmatic.com and ride in style.